I'll tell you guys, the last thing I expected this year was a Battle Royale. Matter of fact, every time I turn around, an extraction shooter is what's being put out. That's obviously the trend. Battle Royales have their set markets, have their communities, whether it's PUBG, Fortnite, Apex Legends. We're talking well-established Battle Royales. But Surasis here has created Fake Trigger, the Novita. And essentially, their strategy is, hey, how would you like to play a Battle Royale with waifus? No lies, kinda genius. And to be honest, I really wasn't expecting much outside of the initial eye candy. It turns out, fellas, this is actually a good game. You have a variety of different heroes to choose from, each with their own abilities and ultimates. You run around in third person so that you can see your character, but when you aim down sights, it now turns into a first-person shooter. And I was expecting this to be a bit more jarring, but it's actually seamless. This blend is not something we see in many games. Normally, it's third person only or first person only. Yes, we got games like Destiny 2 that has the ability to draw your character out into third person when rocking certain weapons or when popping your supers, but by default, Fake Trigger allows you to run around in third person. But when in battle, you're thrown into first person, and it feels good. Now, I know somebody's gonna ask, Cross, why not just leave it in first person all the time? You see these cheeks? This is why it stays in third person. Comes down to money, fellas. And the developers here, they know that in order to sell more skins, they need to keep you in third person until the heat of battle. Now, the objective of this game is just like every other Battle Royale. To be the last man standing, or in this case, the last waifu standing, to drop into the map, stay inside the circle as it closes in, and be that last team alive at the end. Now, let me just say, map-wise, this may be the biggest map I've ever seen in a Battle Royale. It's huge, guys. Look at these level changes. These are portals that literally carry you over from one side of the map to the other. You even have vehicles that allows you to traverse around the map, and they're pretty plentiful. But even with 100 players, I felt like there was way too much downtime in between running into other players. And that's just because the map is so big. There's just so many different locations you can go. Now, obviously, as the game progresses and the circle condenses, you'll have more of a chance of running into other players. But this may be one of those games where we need to up that player count. Like, no lie, if the developers can pull it off, I think a minimum 150 players to maybe 200 players for a map this size. That's just how big this map is. And I know that probably puts a big stress on the servers, but I really don't want the solution to be, hey, let's just cut the map in half. Given the fact that you have vehicles that are available to you, one that can literally float, another one that's got a booster on it to allow you to get around even faster. You've got these portals that can jump you to these various land islands. I would hate to see the developers get rid of this. I think this is really cool. I love the big landmass. I just think it needs more players. It needs more people on the map itself so that you don't have as much downtime in between those fights. Now let's talk about how the game plays. Again, the abilities that are unique to each one of the classes are really cool. We've got one character that literally has wall hack abilities and the ability to smoke screen an entire area. She even has a unique ability that when she finishes an enemy, she gains wall hacks. For my Fortnite players, we've got a tank class. Her ultimate literally builds a fortress, giving her both that defensive position and the high ground, which is perfect if you're trying to snag a res for your teammates. We've got another hero that can call down this AoE effect, which does a tremendous amount of damage. Another hero that can lay down this water trail, which allows her to move faster to get the flank on enemies. Another hero that has the ability to dash, as well as like this chaos reach beam effect that can instantly melt. Another hero that has the ability to boost not only herself, but also her teammates, which is really good if you're trying to like reposition your entire team, or if you're just trying to get a look at all your enemies. Now, the last hero that's available is this one right here, which is essentially Mercy. She's got healing abilities. She can create these zones that can both recover and pick up downed allies. And what I really like about this is that we have a class system here between supports, tanks, and DPS. Now, the heroes in this game are called Awakeners. I'm not necessarily going to dive into the lore of all this, as I'm just jumping in and playing this alpha, but there is a wolf guy that's going to be coming at some point in the future, which seems to be the only male character we have available to play. Regardless, though, all of these Awakeners stand out. They are distinctly different. And I would say if you've got a squad, rocking various classes will play a pivotal role in reaching victory. Having a healer, especially. Having a tank for those moments where you're getting pinned down. Now, I don't believe there's a difference in thresholds in regards to their health. I think they're all the same in that aspect. It's just the abilities themselves that actually change. Now, as for the weapons, there are a number of different foundries. Each of these foundries have their own weapon types, from burst fire weapons to auto rifles to SMGs to shotguns to DMRs. And honestly, the way they have these things broken up, it almost reminds me of like Destiny and their foundries, from like Amalon, Hake, Suros. You can see here that these weapons have their own unique looks that's associated with that foundry. And as time goes on, when people associate what the meta is for this game, they're going to associate it with those foundries. Like currently right now, The Rifle, which is the 3-round burst pulse rifle that's made by C&L Industries, is extremely good. I'm talking instantly drop enemies. And that's something you'll notice in this game as well. The time to kill is so fast, way faster than I would expect. Considering the class abilities, I was expecting a lengthier time to kill, and essentially what I was thinking of was that gunfights would be approached where enemies and yourself would trench in, snag a few shots here and there, and then use your abilities to push enemies out or get angles on those enemies. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but for the most part, the time to kill is fast enough where you can go in and you can wipe a team by yourself. If you're good enough and you got the right weapon, you can definitely pull that off, which I think might be appealing to some of you. However, I do believe certain weapons, sandbox-wise, might be a little too good. Again, that 3-round burst, really, really good. Now, all of these weapons can be modded. You'll notice everything that I'm coming across, higher tier mods are automatically being picked up. The inventory management in this game is really good, and you can even set up a loot filter, if you will, that will auto pick up certain items. I really like this feature though, because if I'm running and gunning, and say for instance my magazine is a blue tier, but there's a purple tier magazine option there, I don't have to go over there and click it. I just have to run over it, and the game automatically picks it up and puts it on. Now, every one of these weapons start in their base form, iron sights, but as you pick up more and more mods, they get stronger and stronger. And there's even currencies that you can pick up on the map, and you can take it to these workshops that are present on the map, and you can upgrade those weapons even further. If you want to add tracker rounds to your weapon, you could do so. If you want to make your weapon do more AoE damage, you can also do that, just as long as you have enough currency. Now, picking which weapons to upgrade and to add these features to is important. At least in my knowledge, you cannot drag these things over, these upgrades, to other weapons, which is why you really want to get the highest tier loot possible. And the highest tier loot drops from these cubes. These cubes that you see are like falling stars or these meteors that will have a sound effect when it enters the map. And wherever it lands, it is highly contested, because the gear you get from this and the weapon you get from this is always the best. We're talking gold gear, which instantly replaces what you have, gold mods, and then these red weapons that are extremely unique and are one-time uses only. Meaning when you pick up these weapons, the ammo that it has in it is all you got, but they are substantially stronger. And they also have added benefits. For instance, this CL Monolith LMG has an enhanced stat on it called Impact Rounds, where my rounds slows targets that I hit. And interestingly enough, it states that it's for all weapons, which means it may even apply to my secondary weapon as well. But these cubes drop the best stuff. You grab that loot, and then if you got enough currency, the ideal thing would be to take this to the workshop and upgrade these items. You can even upgrade your backpack, your helmet, your shield, making all of these things much stronger. So yes, the time to kill is fast, but the emphasis is definitely in getting the best gear and kitting it out to combat that fast time to kill. The weapons here though, guys, very unique. I love the foundries. Some are definitely outliers in terms of potency, but the shooting mechanics overall felt good. I think the biggest drawback to all of this is that yes, this is an alpha. There were some network issues. I definitely had high ping as well as my teammates, but when the connections were good, it was so satisfying landing those kills, especially when you start to combine your abilities with your weapons, your upgrades. All of these things flow very well together. Now, other items that you can pick up on the map include things like your heals, you get your shields back, your health back. You can also pick up throwables, things like grenades. My big complaint with grenades right now is that they take way too long to explode. You throw that thing into a group of enemies and it feels like an eternity before it blows up. Hell, by that point, everyone can easily avoid the explosion. Other than that though, guys, Fate Trigger is a very well polished game. It's free to play. It's currently in alpha. It's got a cast of great heroes here. I'm not really sure how they're going to roll out the other heroes, but it seems like most of the monetization is going to be tied in the season pass, where you get various things like skins, cosmetics, skins for your weapons, different trinkets, your general stuff that you would see on a season pass. However, there are skins you can buy directly from the store. And fellas, they are very revealing. The jiggle mechanics. Good God. That Stellar Blade went all out. This game. With all that being said, though, I do have some complaints. Again, networking, it's going to have to be improved. Granted, it is an alpha, so hopefully that gets worked out. The point that I brought up earlier, I think we need more people. 150 people, maybe even 200, considering the map size. The third issue, sound design. I know you guys probably can't really hear it here, but the sound design in this game is very muffled. Like almost to the point that I feel like it's bugged. I literally had a car running behind me and run me over, and I never heard it, which is really odd because you can hear someone's footsteps, but it's like environmental sound has been been turned way down. And maybe it's been turned way down because they want to emphasize the noise of our footsteps, but I would actually just prefer to have the option to change up both of those, and that way people can choose whichever one they want. The fact that I got run over by a car and never even heard the car approaching me, the audio definitely needs some work. The other thing to bring up is player movement. Considering how fast time to kill is in this game, I do believe that player movement can be dialed up just a bit more. Now I know this really puts emphasis on the characters that do have abilities to make them more mobile, but I think overall, all the characters need to have a bigger boost to their mobility. And I think if the time to kill was much slower, then having our current mobility makes sense. But if they're going to maintain the same TTK values that they have now, which is extremely fast, then bumping up our player mobility, in my opinion, should be just fine. Now, the last thing I'm going to bring up is the winning screen for when you do win. It's a little anticlimactic. We had a number of dubs, but it was just kind of like, all right, nothing crazy. I feel like they could spice this up a bit more, hype it up. They can go the Warzone route and turn on comms for everybody when the game ends. And as you know, those comms are crazy, but at the same time, it's hysterical. They could do something like that, but I do feel like this screen needs to be a bit different. Something spicier that jumps out. Now, what is the future of Fate Trigger? Do they have a roadmap of sorts? Well, nothing official has been published outside of just some conversations with the developers, but it seems like they have a lot planned for this game. They actually said at launch they're going to have somewhere around 20 heroes, with more they're going to be adding even later. They also mentioned that they're big fans of anime, and there's actually like lore and story that's wrapped around this, hence the circle that closes in, that being the Pale Blight, the world being shattered into these different islands. For the most part, story-wise, they're just going to be delivering this in trailers, but it is a possibility at some point in the future they could have a manga that goes alongside this game. Now, they did emphasize that there will not be any type of pay-to-win mechanics, something I wasn't really concerned about considering it's a BR. Everyone each match is on equal footing. The only thing I can think of is like characters that are standout heroes. And if that character has like a hard paywall and they're extremely OP, then we're in a situation of pay to win. And I'm not really sure how they're going to balance these things, or even how the monetization is going to be rolled out for obtaining those different awakeners. But for the time being, guys, this game, which I had no idea even existed until a week ago, has been a pleasant surprise. If you're interested in this game, there is an alpha going on right now that you can sign up. The game is supposed to be available on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S in 2025 alongside PC, as well as even mobile. The closed alpha is currently only available on Steam. We do have one more code. We will be giving away that code to just a random commenter down below. So if you're interested in this game and you happen to have a PC with Steam, just say something in the comments and we'll throw you in the raffle. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.